Hi, or in the language of the Norse, hi. My name is Jacob G, and here on Talk Anything, where we talk anything and all things, and the information and opinions about our topic. On today's episode, our first episode, I thought, why not start off with something nice, easy, and a lot of people may not know. The Vikings, their time period, their belief system. So, in short, Norse mythology. When I say Norse mythology, what do I mean? Now, due to our world today, most people think Chris Hemsworth as the Norse god Thor, or the brilliant Tom Hiddleston as Loki, or my personal favourite, the legend Anthony Hopkins as Odin the All-Father. But that is not the case. The characters are real, yes, but the appearance is different. Thor, or how the Norse called him, Thor. And before I start, I know I will ruin every Chris Hemsworth crush with what I'm about to say, but it is true. Thor was represented as a red-bearded, middle-aged man and a hothead with a scary short temper. If you think about it, he's kind of like your ordinary average person, so like me or you. Odin didn't look exactly like Anthony Hopkins, but not too different either. Odin, or how the Vikings pronounced his name, Odin, he mostly dressed as an old man with a white long beard and a wide brimmed hat. Think your general old hermit. Loki, or Loki in the Old Norse, his appearance is normal to how he's shown in the Marvel movies. Only difference is he has blonde hair, and I know Tom Hiddleston with blonde hair. Creepy. Well, I have given a description on all of them, or the main ones that are known in the Marvel movies, and I could talk all the live-long day about the Norse, but it would be boring with just my voice. So, here on Talk Anything, I like to have guests, and for today's episode, I have my good friend and fellow TAFE Media classmate, Robert, and upcoming man in music, AB. Welcome, fellas. How you doing today?
Hey, Jacob. Thanks for having us on the show.
It's pretty good.
Okay, well, I'm going to start the questions off nice and easy. If you had to pick a realm to live in, which one would it be?
I'll say Helheim.
Elheim. Any reason why?
This is how I like the cold. Yeah, okay, not fair.
And are you talking long-term living?
Yeah, we'll go long-term living. Why not?
Okay, well, look, I'm going to be boring and say long-term. I reckon Midgard's pretty good. Now, I think before you go Midgard, but there's two different takes on what Midgard actually is.
You care to fill us in on that?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, there's the camp that thinks Midgard is just this physical Earth, and but I'm of the other camp, which is of the opinion that Midgard is actually, let's just say, a world that's actually superimposed over this physical world. So an energetic world, which all the rest kind of are as well anyway. So that's the world that you would see overlapping when you see land wilds or things like that.
Well, what do you know? You learn something new every day. Well, now look, I want to say one thing. I just want to get you guys' opinion on that. When it comes to the stories or the sagas, things like when Sigurd killed the dragon Fafnir. Now, to some extent, is there a part of you that just thinks this is far-fetched? Is there? I mean, like, for me, I have to say, to some extent, I do believe that these things can be a little, like, far-fetched. But what are you guys' opinion on that?
Look, I think you can look at these stories in different ways, and some of them might have more relevance looking in some ways than others. But for instance, you could look at it as a story that has a kind of a moral to it, for want of a better word, or you could look at it as an event that actually happened in the physical world, or you could look at it as an event that happened in a energetic world, a parallel world, if you like. So I think they have validity in
don't disagree with that. What about you, AB?
Oh, okay. I believe it's more for a cultural reason why they created them stories, because we don't know if they're true or not. So they believe in a, how do I say this in about making this 18 plus.
Yeah, just try and keep this TAFE friendly. Thank you very much.
Anytime, boss. As I'm trying to say, it's they're trying to subject their own belief onto everyone, but it's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? It's more of
I see what you're saying. I won't lie. I see what you're saying.
they're trying to keep the culture alive through the stories, basically.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that.
Because
But
we don't know if they're true or not. So
agreed. But then you do have the stories like the stories of Ragnar Lothbrok, the first Viking to sail to England.
true.
But say that there's like people there who say he ain't real, but then believe that his sons are real. Sons being Bjorn Ironside, Ivar the Boneless, and figures like that. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like, I guess in my opinion, it's like, where do you draw the line?
Oh no, just to the stories. Like when let's say, you know how you were talking about the dragon.
Yeah.
Let's say, if what if dragons never existed? Like they did, but let's say they didn't, and people wanted to create something what humans fear more than a god,
Interesting.
and the only people who could save them was a god.
No, right? Yeah, no, I don't entirely disagree with what you're saying there. Interesting. I won't lie. Any final thoughts?
I think, you know, all of those things can be true. Maybe not for all stories,
Yeah.
but one or more.
Yeah. I mean,
can be.
why not? Yeah. Now, I've got like 2 questions left because I'm going to keep this nice and simple. Okay, when you were first hearing the sagas, learning the stories and all that, did you struggle to get your head around it all? Because I mean, like with me personally, I did a little bit struggle to try and figure out what was going on.
What do you mean by what was going on?
Well, I mean, take for example the story of creation, and for our listeners who aren't familiar with it, a short rundown is basically 2 worlds, 2 realms. How I've forgotten the fire realm. Muspelheim. Oh, thank you for that. And Niflheim. See, I do remember stuff.
Good to know that.
And they were leaking fire and ice, and that created the first giant. And from there, the story goes on. I won't make it too long. But at first, I struggled to figure out like the whole concept of that fire and ice melting to create the first giant. That's why I struggled to get my head around when I was first learning that story.
I kind of looked at it. I mean, I have a, I guess, background in Taoism, and I kind of saw that, you know, what they're calling fire and ice, and you know, the evolution of the gods and then humankind, as kind of quite similar to Taoist cosmology. So the interaction of yin and yang, fire being yang, the ice being yin, and in the Tao Te Ching, for instance, they talk about how you know, 0 begets 1, 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, and 3 begets the 10,000 things. So that's a progression. So of from nothing comes something, then goes into 3 being heaven, man, and earth in the Taoist perspective, and then the 10,000 things being all of reality.
Wow.
So in some ways, you know, you could read that story, you know, the Norse creation myths, from that sort of lens as well. So So for me, it wasn't that hard to get my head around. Some of it you look at as metaphorical,
Yeah.
and but I guess in a sense elucidating principles.
That's a interesting perspective. I won't lie. I quite enjoy that perspective. I'm going to spend some time thinking about that after this. My last question, and this is mainly for the people who may listen to this. Okay, say we've got someone who's wanting to learn but doesn't know where to start. What advice would you give them?
I guess it depends what their particular interests are. I think if your interest is in, I guess, gaining some sort of understanding about, what the Norse actually thought, well, then there's the two major kind of texts, the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda, which contain, I suppose you would say, the bulk of the so-called mythology of the Norse.
Yeah,
So going back to the original source, or as close as we can get nowadays, unless you're reading Old Norse, in which case you can read it directly.
Exactly.
It's pretty hard to do without where.
Yeah, exactly. Or otherwise, if you're interested more in, I guess, runic studies, there's some interesting, particularly if you want to work with the runes, I think a good start is a book called The Big Book of Runes and Rune Magic by Edward Thorson.
I've heard of that.
I believe I've read that book, actually. Yeah.
It's a great book. He goes, because it's all based in academic sort of research, if you like.
Oh, yeah.
He did his PhD in Nordic and Germanic studies, I think it was. So he starts from that and then goes into other kind of practical things you can try. So that's a good one for a start for people who are interested in that sort of thing.
Now, AB, knowing that you have a different background in the faith department, how did you come ahead to learning about the Norse stories and that?
Well, with my family, let's just say every single person born in my family, we must learn another culture or religion or like another type of belief system to learn from it, to import it into our own, make ourselves our own type of man.
See. And you picked the Norse Viking age.
Yeah.
Now,
Prefer warriors, man.
So, like Robert suggested, did you go start off with the prose and poetic Edda?
No. I started out with just trying to learn the language itself within text. So I don't remember what the book was called, but let's just say when I got the book, I couldn't read it until I bought a decipher.
Yeah.
I started deciphering it word by word. Now at home, I have a book with just everything deciphered.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, fellas, I thank you a lot for being on this podcast with me today and about our topic. I've learned different perspectives, and well, if there's anything that I want anybody to take away from this podcast, it is perspectives are everything. Now, that does bring us to the end of our show today. Next episode will be about music and the history of music. I will have new guests, and it will be loads of fun with new information. You can listen to us anywhere on Spotify, and I thank you for your time.